I think after President Recep Tayyip Erdogan, you are by far the most popular figure here. How does it feel to be a diplomatic rock star?
Well, I think if we have heads of state being a real rock star, then there is nothing wrong with diplomats to be what they are. And if people like it, if people believe this is fun, so be it. More and more countries, big countries, medium-sized countries, small countries, would like to have an equal say in the world affairs, in full conformity with the United Nations Charter, which says that the United Nations is based on sovereign equality of states. And more countries want to determine their life themselves, to have fair treatment, to have fair competition in economy, trade, in other areas, just in line with the principles of globalization, which were promoted by our Western friends, especially by the United States. Nobody knows how the situation with world trade and investment is going to end. Well, there would be no end. How it is going to evolve, I would say, because there would be new twists in this situation. But generally speaking, about multipolarity, it is gaining ground, no doubt about this. Not only big countries like China, India, Brazil, Turkey, Indonesia, Egypt, South Africa, many others. They believe that they deserve a say in world affairs. And therefore, multipolarity is a chance for the United Nations Charter principles to be materialized. Because before, during this globalization, especially during Cold War, the sovereign equality of states was never respected by our Western colleagues. If you retrospectively consider history after World War II and creation of the United Nations, there was no single conflict where the West, the leaders of the West, would be treating parties to a conflict as equals. And I understand that this might sound idealistic, and maybe this equality would never be brought to life. But the principles of the Charter, drafted by the Founding Fathers, they already provided for multipolarity. I see no reason why China and the US shouldn't have good relations, why Russia and the US shouldn't have good relations, why everybody shouldn't be treated with respect and with understanding of national interests. They failed to consolidate security and stability. What they succeeded in is igniting tension and remilitarizing Europe, including Germany, in spite of the fact that the economic and social situation is degrading. But all efforts of this Euro-Atlantic community are concentrated on getting ready for a new war. Everywhere there are sub-regional organizations, many of them. Organization of Turkish states here, Eurasian Economic Union, ASEAN, Shanghai Cooperation, many. The same is true for Africa, many sub-regional groupings, and in Latin America. But Africa and Latin America, they do have their all-continental structures, African Union and CELAC. In Eurasia, there was never anything like this. Cheating is the key word for what was happening. And our last attempt, but we still in 2008 and 2010 were proposing the draft agreements between Russia and NATO, Russia and the United States. The same we did in 2021 in December. To no avail. So yes, my point is that NATO did not, or rather NATO failed to strengthen security. It is not against anybody. It is not against NATO. I think the biggest enemy of NATO is NATO itself and those who were trying to use it to dominate in violation of their own pledges in OSCE. But the fragmentation process, which I mentioned, which is taking place in the world economy, it is also reflected in the security area, the discussions of NATO, the scares of Europeans, that they would be left to their own devices. We don't interfere. If they believe that they are still relevant in the form which failed many times, this is their right. This is their right to decide. Our right is to make sure that the matters of the Eurasian continent are discussed and resolved by the countries located on this continent.